Ready to go. Rock and roll.
Let's kick off. We are.
Hey, we're so cute. We really are. Look at us.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
That's nice. We are. I like the screen better this time, Ilong. It's very nice. It wasn't like this before.
Yeah,
it's nice. I like it a lot better. It's nice. Yeah.
It's because we are live.
Yeah, sì, è vero. Il bello la diretta.
Exactly. Exactly.
云柔，你开始了，可以告诉我哦。
Ready to go.
但是我没有看到那个 share screen。
OK。
就是我在这个里面没有看到。这个是带这个还是带那个？带这个。
I put mine on. Hello, do you hear me?
I can hear you.
太完了。
大家好，欢迎进入赏园之味的直播间，好久不见。Hello Danny 和 Rosa， 非常开心能够又跟大家见面。如果大家现在已经康复了，然后欢迎大家在屏幕上面跟我们扣个1，然后我相信也有不少的朋友可能还在阳康的道路上，然后呢也非常开心今天能够在直播间跟大家团聚，然后也可以跟大家分享美酒美食，包括呢今天我们请到了 Barolo 的大名家Sandrone 的庄主 Barbara， 然后还有 Matteo 跟我们见面。那么在我身旁的这位呢，仍然是伊恩达格塔大师，赏园之味的首席科学家，也是世界著名的酒评家。我们又跟大家见面了。赵爷，
ciao， 晚上好，我很高兴认识你们 and very, very happy to be here with Barbara Sandrone of the world famous Sandrone Wine Estate, and of course with Echo in our Terroir Masters series of live stream interviews. And it's a thrill to be with Barbara. I've had the pleasure of knowing her now 20 plus years. The Sandrone winery is one of the very first Barolo wineries I started visiting back in the 1980s. I still remember when I was at the Gambero Rosso, the first ever tasting I organized was of 1984 Barolos. And there was among the 6 Barolos in the tasting, there was the Sandrone Munghisolfo dei Cannubi wine, which was a white label wine, which was the forerunner of the Cannubi Boschis or Aleste wine. So this is an estate I've known very well for many, many years. And it's always a thrill to meet Luciano, and Barbara Sandrone. And we're very happy to be here today with them. Along with Barbara, we also have Matteo Cecchetto, who is in charge of the Sandrone portfolio for Summergate, one of China's leading fine wine importers. And Matteo's with us as well. Ciao Matteo, ciao Barbara.
Hi.
Ciao.
Hello. Hi, ciao everybody.
Facciamo tradurre Echo e poi incominciamo.
那么非常荣幸，今天我们请到了 Barbara 和 Matteo， 然后 Matteo 呢是负责 Sandrone 的品牌大使，同时呢他也在上海美夏工作。我们今天非常有幸的可以请到2位，同时呢如果我看到今天也有非常多的正在阳康，或者是甚至还在恢复，也有一些已经阳康好久的朋友们跟我们在直播间见面。那么如果你们有任何问题，任何包括对于 Sandrone 的问题，都可以在屏幕上打上你们的提问，然后我们也会代表你们向酒庄庄主提问。今天是一个千载难逢的好时机千万不要就是一定要抓住这个时机来问我们的庄主了。
Okay, so really, the listeners probably are all aware of the Sandrone winery. This is one of Italy's really finest wine estates, certainly one of the 10 most important in all of Barolo. Luciano Sandrone started the estate, and with the help of his brother Luca and his daughter Barbara, has taken it over the years to the highest levels of Italian wine. The bottles are just iconic. They're sought for all over the world by collectors, by restaurants, by importers, by wine lovers in general. And so it's a real pleasure to talk about these wines with Barbara Sandrone tonight. Although we talk about Barolo, this is an estate that is remarkably good with just about every grape they use. And in fact, maybe people aren't as aware that even though the Barolos are what really has made Sandrone famous in the world, in reality, this is an estate that makes an exceptionally good Dolcetto d'Alba and an exceptionally good Barbera d'Alba. So I think one of the big secrets of Sandrone is not just how good the Barolos are, something that most people are aware of, but how good also the Dolcetto and the Barbera are. So anyways, we're gonna let Barbara tell us a little bit about this important Italian wine estate. And as we go along, if we have questions, we'll stop her. Thank you, Barbara, welcome.
Thanks to you, Ian. Thanks to everybody anyway for your time and attention. As you said, anyway, it's a true privilege for me to be connected today with you. And, you know, finally, as we are missing each other, I'm talking about also all the friends anyway online with us today, missing each other. It's really coming the time to get together very soon. So I also, well, sorry if you want to translate that, and then sure. I'm going to step to the next.
Sì, non hai bisogno non hai bisogno di parlare così poco, però va bene.
Okay, okay, thanks. As I'm Italian, you know, I love talking. And if I don't have someone turning me off,
you're most welcome.
You know.
So tell us a little bit about the estate. When was it officially founded? How big is it? Where you're located?
Yep. Absolutely. So first of all, we are located in the teeny-weeny village of Barolo, which is it is a beautiful wine area called Lange, which is located in the southwest part of Piedmont. And Piedmont is a part of the 20th regions componing Italy, which is in the northwest part of Italy. So we are just across the border of France. And Barolo sometimes is a little bit confusing because it has 3 different meanings. So is the name of the village, as I said anyway, is the name of the wine district, Barolo, composed by 11 little villages. And then, of course, is the name of the wine, which is produced with Nebbiolo grapes. Then talking about the story of the family, it's a really simple story based on a strong passion, what we do every day. So really making wine. My grandparents were carpenters, so nothing to do with wine. My dad, Luciano, who actually started everything right in 1978, so 40 plus years ago. He was born in the little village of La Morra, part of these 11 little villages composing Barolo district. And then the family moved down here in Barolo, and in order to implement their business. Anyway, my granddad was amazing in building pieces of furniture. And the carpentry was next door to Giacomo Borgogno, one of the most historical winery in the village of Ruolo. And my dad was extremely attracted by, by the winery, by the trucks bringing grapes, by pressing the grapes, by the aromas of the fermentations. And he was spending most of the time at the winery instead of helping his dad at the carpentry. So he got very close to Mr. Borgogno, and when he was only 14, he was already working there, supporting him, trying to understand the magic of making wine. So then when he was only 18, he moved from Giacomo Borgogno to Marchesi di Barolo, another big and famous estate here in the village, in order to become anyway cellar master. And in fact, he was a cellar master for the family for over 20 years, 1970, 1990. But in the meantime, this passion for wine, making wine was growing, boiling so much inside, at the point that in 1977, he got by a chance the opportunity to buy his first vineyard, right here in the village of Ruolo, right in Canubi hillside, right in Bosques sub-region. So the wine that Ian was talking before, first vintage 1978, from a black and white label with so many information on. And then later on, this label changed a little bit the style, which I'm very proud to show you later on. So tell me if when it's time to stop, because you
Adesso she'll translate.
Yeah.
Thank you, Barbara. 今天呢，我们来跟他介绍的 Sandrone，Sandrone 呢是在历史上呢，它创建于1977年。Sandrone Luciano 是意大利的Barolo 的大名鼎鼎的酒庄。如果大家葡萄酒爱好者们一定会听说过神之水滴，那么它就是神之水滴当中的第6使徒。然后呢，酒庄庄主刚刚 Barbara 提到的 Luciano Sandrone， 他呢出生在 Langhe 这一片 Nebbiolo 文明的土地上，他对此是非常自豪、非常骄傲，并且呢，倾尽他一生的精力和心血，都在探索这一块土地当中的风土，想要寻找和酿造出他自己独有的出色的葡萄酒。这个也是他对于葡萄酒事业的终身热情所在。那么在50多年的发展历史过程当中呢，他在Luciano Sandrone， 他早在18岁的时候呢，他就已经开始在酿酒的道路上孜孜不倦的研究了。他当时呢是在 Giacomo Borgogno 这个酒庄当中实习，并且呢他发现了他自己对葡萄酒的热爱，并且呢他在后来1978年的时候呢，他买下了第一个葡萄园，第一个 vineyard， 也就是 Bosques 现在的这个小的这个葡萄园。那么在此之后，他也开始了他对于 Sandrone 的研究，以及呢大自然对他的馈赠，并且一直到现在，我们也可以看到他酿造出了非常多的非常厉害的作品呈现给大家。那么今天我们还请小助手呢在公屏下方打出赏元之味的企业微信，因为今天我们将给大家带来4款非常特别的酒款。那么这些特别酒款呢，都是我们今天给大家带来的特别的配额。那么这个配额呢，只有在还没有到港所以都是预售的状态当中。所以想要买到今晚的这个4款预售的配额，包括我们还为大家准备了套装。那么也请大家添加企业微信，并且呢我们小助手会推送给大家酒单。OK，
Eccellente. Okay.
Proud. Great. So, my dad always been considered as a garage winery, because when he started making wine, he really didn't have anything, any proper cellar, any proper equipment, but so much passion, so many dreams, let's say it this way. And at the end, he said, let's convert the garage of the house where he still living in the cellar. So he used to make wine for really so many years there. The production was quite limited at the time. 1978 was the very first vintage, for a total production of 1,500 bottles. And then, with a group of pioneers like him, colleagues, winemakers, they went to Verona to attend Vinitaly Wine Fair. That was in 1981. They met an American broker. Well, actually, it was, Mark De Grazia was really, really young at the time, 25 years old. But with so many great connections, and then speaking, of course, extremely fluent in English and Italian. And he was able to create this fil rouge between my dad and other colleagues to some distributors in US. So 1981 was really the kickoff. My dad was able to sell the wine in US. It was such a dream for him. Never expected to achieve, great result so easily like that. And he felt so motivated in order to move on. And as Ian said, anyway, started making some Dolcetto d'Alba, the most simplest wine from the region, but very fruity and very tasty. Some Barbera as well. And then, of course, focusing on Nebbiolo. And then, of course, consequently, Barolo. So we don't have to forget, as Ian mentioned so many times, my uncle, Luca. Luca is my dad's youngest brother. So Luca and Luciano are two brothers, but they are 21 years apart from each other. So Luca is the youngest brother. Luca is the enologist of the winery, and he's always been working very close to my dad in order to make the wines so special. Today, I would say that is also mostly dedicated to farming, specializing in farming. And today, also my daughter, Alessia, is working with us very close to Luca. So my dad always felt so much responsibility for his brother Luca and myself, considering us like two kids. And he, one day, of course, 25 years ago, he said, listen, if you want to go ahead with me, I'm here for you guys. So my intention is to build a new facility, new winery, properly well organized. So let's join forces and let's move on. And it happened right in the 1999. We were able to buy a small plot in the village of Ruolo at the foot of Canoe Boskis in order to build a new facility. And so from 1999, we are making our wines in the new facility.
The winery is right in front of Canoe Boskis. Yeah, and we'll let Echo translate that. One thing I think that, the truly great wine estates of the world are very rarely just one person. They always have a leader, but they're always blessed either with very talented and passionate family members, which is your case, but also sometimes very talented technical staffs. So I think in this, Sandrone isn't really a one-man show. It's a very successful example of teamwork that has made the estate bigger and better and stronger over the years. And I've known you for so long, Barbara. You're remarkably talented at what you do. Everybody recognizes that you're a great ambassador for your winery. You travel tirelessly around the world. You speak English, obviously, very well, which is very important. Luca is extremely talented, and Luciano, of course, is Luciano. So there really is a team at work with Sandrone that I think really explains the great success that you've had over the years, because it comes from a group of people working very well together. We'll let Echo translate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
那么刚才就像燕提到的，其实 Sandrone 的成功啊，不仅仅是一个人啊，而是他的整个非常强大的团队强有力的支持。那么首先首当其冲呢，当然Luciano Sandrone 当然是非常厉害的，并且呢，他是我们可以把历史追溯到1978年第一个酒庄的年份。那么当时灌瓶的时候呢，第一个年份只有1400瓶这么小的产量。那么一直到今天，在1981年的这个Vin Italy 的上面呢，因为其实酒庄当时遇到了一个我们今天可能也会有印象的，就是美国的一个他的 broker 叫做Marco de Gracia。那么他当时帮助了 Sandrone 把他的酒分销到了美国去，所以当时也是作为 Sandrone 来说，他们也非常的自豪，因为在当时1981年的时候Sandrone 已经在美洲大陆上成为了非常知名的一个品牌。那么这个也是在美洲不仅仅是在欧洲大家对 Sandrone 的认可，而是世界范围内对 Sandrone 的一个很高度的评价和赞誉。那么再到我们刚刚说回 Sandrone 强有力的 team 组合啊，另外一个人物呢就是 Luca 呢是 Sandrone 兄弟当中年龄最小的一个。那么他现在呢是在酒庄当中负责这个enologist， 他就是负责这个在葡萄园当中的一些技术。那么他在这个葡萄园当中的专业是非常强的。在我们也知道，等一下我们会聊到Sandrone 拥有Barolo 非常非常稀有的这个克隆品种。那么这种克隆品种非常的特别，也需要非常多的这个照看和照顾啊，也非常需要有顶尖的技术人员去给他最好的呵护。那么这个是他的这个Luca。那么现在Barbara 的女儿呢就是 Alicia， 她是在跟着Luca 在学习。那么同时酒庄在1989年的时候呢，也就是他们第一个这个小的特级园，当时买到的就是 Canubi Bosques， 那么也是现在酒庄非常有名的一块田。那么包括我们今天也会在酒单当中带给大家的配额非常稀少的这个一款酒啊，大家可以在屏幕下方点击赏园之味的企业微信，然后可以拿到我们今天晚上给大家准备的酒单。所以说酒庄今天的成功不仅仅是说我们拥有非常好的风土，同时呢也因为我们有着非常强大的团队无论从种植还是从酿造，再到整个团队的井井有力的这样一个密切的合作，所以呢今天我们才能在我们面前的这一些非常好的美酒带给大家。
Very good. Okay, Barbara.
Yeah. Okay. So, of course, the new winery. Well, you tell me when you want me to show some slides from the
Go ahead and show them. Go ahead and show them.
Sure.
Okay.
Maybe we
No
can
problem.
see a little bit about the PowerPoint.
Yeah, because you're in a beautiful area, so if we can show them the photos, that would be great.
Mm-hmm. Do you see the PowerPoint? Aspetta, wait.
No,
because
not
I
yet.
have to. Not yet, exactly. Okay. Hold on a second. Because I did something wrong. Okay.
Nice spectacle.
Yeah, it is.
I love the color.
Oh.
Okay. What about now?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I wanted to have the full screen, but anyway, let's
In basso
go ahead
a
in this way.
destra. In basso a destra, ce la fai?
You're right.
No, to the right, to the right, to the right. Ancora. No, ancora over. The last one. No, ancora una. Ecco, perfetto, that one, yeah.
Thank you, Ian. Love you.
There we go, perfect.
Brava,
all right.
I couldn't see a thing.
Very good.
Okay. So that's the main entrance. That's how I wanted to show you at the first beginning. Say welcome anytime, really, because we all miss you a lot anyway. So this is what I already introduced you anyway. So 50 plus harvest and 40 years of winemaking, and the great varietals, Dolcetto, Barbera, Nebbiolo, 2 territories, because we didn't talk about Roero, which is this beautiful wine region on the left bank of the river Tanaro, but we're going to focus maybe on that into the next episode. And of course, the 6 wines. So that's the family. So that's what I wanted to show you. Anyway, my dad, Luciano, is quite recognizable. And Luke and I, left and right, and the 2 kids on underneath, Alessia and Stefano. So to me, not because I'm mom, anyway, I'm their mom, but you know, Alessia and Stefano are going to have an incredible responsibility because from their nicknames, Alessia, Ale, and Stefano, Ste, Ale, Ste. Of course, you know, we have this wine.
Yeah.
Oh, Luke and I and the family. That's exactly the kind of also other pictures I wanted to show you, because the region is really, let me say, breathtaking. Not because I was born here, but you know, yeah, I mean, you will see anyway, once you will be here, the kind of feeling, the kind of peace that really all these green and vineyards and vines are moving really a sense of peace to you all. So we have Langam, where Barolo is produced, and Roero, as I was saying anyway, which is this area on the left of the river Tanaro, sandy soil.
So Barbara, even though you said it, let me just repeat it. Maybe you're going to say it now then. Basically,
please.
Yeah, okay, no, you're going to say it, so no problem. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. You can stop me anytime. Don't worry.
No.
So here is a little bit of geography. As you see Italy anyway, you see Rome and Florence, where precisely are. We're talking about Piedmont in the northwest part of Italy, close to the border of France. And then south anyway, this region where Alba is the capital, is the main city, crossed by this river, able to divide the 2 wine districts, Roero and Langa. And in Langa, we have Barolo district. So Roero is rich of sand, so the Nebbiolo over there is always more delicate and fine. But let's concentrate on Langa, where the type of soil is clay, limestone. And so at the end, the wines are always more robust. And here a little bit of, to give an idea how different the grape varietals are, in order then to better understand why the wines are also quite different. So Dolcetto, you see these little berries, Barbera, really, you know, chunky round berries. And the Nebbiolo is a medium size, let's say it this way. But the peculiarity of Nebbiolo is the thickness of the skin. That's why it's always the last one getting ready, is the last one being harvested. And also, I don't know if you ever read about the origin of its name. Nebbiolo comes from nebbia. In English, it's fog, because normally we go through the harvest when it's quite foggy in the region. There's a lot of haziness, you know, when the microclimate, when the weather starts changing, middle of October, end of October, beginning of November. So, you know, the autumn is really in the air, and this grape varietal becomes ready to be harvested. And this is the new winery. So just in case you will be able to come to see us, don't miss to stop by visiting us anyway. You tell me when it's time to turn it off anyway, because I know that you want to see my face more often.
No, we'll let Echo translate. I'll just add, so people who follow us have probably already know, or maybe they listen to Barbara. So the main thing to realize is that the Ruero and the Langa are two very famous winemaking areas, separated by the Tanaro River. The Ruero is on the left side, is a left bank region, while the Langa, where Barolo is a right bank region on the right bank of the Tanaro. The only thing that we can add, and then we're going to concentrate on the Langa and the Barbera and the Barolo that we're going to talk about tonight. I do just want to say one thing. This is very, very important, and it goes to the quality and the importance of the Sandrone winery. They make a Nebbiolo wine from the Ruero, from what is really the grand cru of all Ruero Nebbiolo vineyard areas. There's probably two, but the single most famous one of them all is Valmaggiore, and that is actually the name of the Nebbiolo d'Alba wine made by Sandrone. You can make a Ruero wine and call it Nebbiolo d'Alba, and theirs comes from the Valmaggiore vineyard for Nebbiolo, which is really the grand cru for Nebbiolo and the Ruero. So again, it goes to what I was saying before, a really talented team of people, a very talented family, but also that has really, really great vineyards, because we will talk about the Barolos now, but the vineyards that Sandrone has for its Barolos are really among the most important in all of Langa, and the same is actually true for their Nebbiolo wine. We're not going to talk about the Nebbiolo wine tonight, but that just tells you a little bit about the Sandrone winery and why it has the success it does, because of attention to detail and always looking for the highest possible quality. Okay, Echo.
And in terms of style, like compared to Ruero and the Langa areas?
Ruero is mainly a sandy area, so the Nebbiolo wines are lighter and fresher. The problem with Ruero wines, which is not Sandrone's, is that people tend to over oak them because they want to give them too much structure. But that's a mistake, because you end up trying to get something that the terroir there cannot give you. The Ruero gives you beautiful, lighter styled Nebbiolo wines, and there's nothing wrong with that. But you can't turn them into what they cannot be. If you want a big, powerful, really age-worthy Nebbiolo wine, you have to go to Barolo, and that's really where the best Nebbiolo wines are.
Okay, thank you, Ian. Thank you, Barbara. 我们今天呢，还请怡蓉可以把我们那个 PPT 切到那一页。因为其实 Sandrone 非常非常独特的一个风土啊，就是它其实是有2个不同的产区，一个呢是位于 Tanaro 这条河的左岸，也就是 Ruero 这个产区，然后另外一片呢 位于 Langa， 也就是在 Terroir River 的这个右岸。那么左岸和右岸呢，因为它的风土、它的土壤的结构不同，左岸呢它有更多的砂石土壤，然后右岸呢有更多的石灰石和比较多矿物质的这种泥质土壤，所以相比而言，右岸呢更加饱满香醇，而且呢更加具有陈年潜力。而相对而言呢，左岸更多砂石土壤的，这个 Roero 产区的呢，它会有更多更优雅、更清新、更飘逸的感觉。所以在选择这个2块葡萄酒风格的时候呢，大家可以对应的去选择。那么当然，因为有很多的Barolo 或者是说很多的酒庄，有一些呢会误把左岸的一些酒做一些比较多的统称，以至于呢它会过分的受橡木桶影响而失去了它这种清新的感觉。但是 Sandrone 不是的，他们还是非常尊崇这个葡萄酒本身的风土，并且在左岸的 Roero 也可以体现出它的这种花香，它的细腻的这种感觉。所以大家可以，如果对于Roero 这个产区的感兴趣的话呢，大家可以点击屏幕下方的酒单赏园之味的企业微信，然后来索取我们今天晚上的酒单。那么另外一个呢，就是在左岸当中，其实在Valmaggiore 这个葡萄园当中，它其实是Roero 产区的最著名的一块特级园之一。那么很多人其实对于这个皮埃蒙特，对于Barolo 的印象仅仅是它可能这个最著名的这个几块特级园，很容易会忽略掉 Roero 这个产区当中的。那么实际上 Roero 产区也出产非常厉害的非常有名的特级园，所以大家千万不要错过我们今天晚上给大家带来的这些配额了。
Okay.
谢谢。
Barbara, you can start telling us
Yes.
a little bit maybe about the Barbera then. We might as well start talking about the first wine, which is your Barbera d'Alba.
Absolutely. I just got, sorry, I realized quite late that someone was asking me to project the PowerPoint when Echo was talking. I'm sorry about, without my glasses sometimes.
No, it's fine.
It's fine. Thank you so much.
Anyway, so going back, I wanted to show you something.
Okay.
Moving anymore. Anyway, talk about Barbera. I think I'm allowed to show the label.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Sure. Okay, right. So since the PowerPoint is not moving anymore, so this is the label of Barbera. Is this sort of pink, dark pink, and this is exactly Barbera d'Alba. No Barbara, but Barbera. Because I know that often I'm getting confused with that. So Barbera is an incredible alive wine. I love it so much, as really in a small glass, it is able to pinch your nose, pinch your senses, because the nose is so profound of rich of dark fruit, like dark cherries, plums. It's full of spiciness. In order to achieve a better balance in this wine, because the main characteristic of the peculiarity of this wine is the high level of acidity, we always rather preserve this wine at least 1 year in barrels that are, don't know, 500 liters, so not the small barriques, but a little bit bigger. but normally the amount of new oak, it's around 30-35%. So as soon we release this wine, sometimes the oak is a little bit overwhelming this incredible chunky black fruit. But with time, you know, everything is going to shape up. And in fact, I normally consider the Barbera when it's so young, like a beautiful puzzle. You know, the 100,000 pieces puzzle that you normally do on Christmas Day. You know, or you have in front of you the final picture, but then on the table you have all these little pieces. And it's always with time that everything is really taking a shape, a precise shape. So a very harmonic wine, very exuberant, because as I said, anyway, this fruit is amazing, and also the spiciness. But then in the end, you have this cradle of oak gently pampering the wine. It's a medium-aged wine because you can preserve it really for 10, 15 plus years, because it is the acidity maintaining this wine extremely alive. I love this wine, you know, anytime. Summertime, because I can easily chill down this bottle in the fridge of the kitchen, and you know, and to have this, enjoy this incredible fruitiness. Otherwise, wintertime, with important dishes of meat, with important dishes of cheese. You know that I come from the region of polenta. There is a corn creamy mix with games, with really anything you like. Anyway, also with spicy food, it goes extremely well. I love it. Anyway, that's my way to describe Barbera.
Yeah, no, your Barbera is great. It's really one of the 5 best Barbera d'Albas made. It's fleshy, it's round, yes. It's bigger bodied than many Barberas because, as you say, Barbera, the grape variety, is characterized by this very high acidity. And especially in other parts of Piedmont, like in the area of Asti, the Barbera wines tend to be very nervous and vibrant. In Alba, they tend to be fleshier, they tend to be rounder. And yours is a very good example of a Barbera that is bigger and rounder. The oak aging helps it mellow out. It cuts that acidity. And the wine is actually fresh and vibrant, like all Barbera wines are going to be, but it's a little bit bigger and rounder and mellower. And it really does go well with spicy food. You know, here in China, we like to eat mapo tofu, for example, and Barbera works very, very well with that. And anything involving mushrooms, it's just something that we like to eat. Braised cheek here, and that really works very well because the Barbera cuts right through with its acidity and really is a great complement. So Barbera, especially when it's mellowed out in oak like you do, here I think it's a great food wine everywhere. It's the classic tavern wine in Piedmont, but it also, I think, is a grape variety and a wine that is very, very, very well suited to some Chinese foods as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good.
Yes, it was wonderful. And 我们今天晚上给大家酒单带来的第一款呢是 Sandrone 的 Barbera d'Alba 的2020年。这一款呢，是一个亲民品种巴贝拉强有力的一个升级版。因为呢，它是非常非常紧致平衡，并且呢，你可以感受到一种水果炸弹的感觉，一种扑面而来的清新感和水果感。那么，这款酒除开我们说 Sandrone 的旗舰款 Barolo 不谈Sandrone 的巴贝拉也是出了名的高水准，甚至可以说是世界上巴贝拉的前5名那么这款酒也是伊恩戴格特大师给了93分的高分的酒款。这款酒呢，刚才Barbara 有跟我们介绍，它是用了30%到35%的新桶来陈酿的。那么 它并不会有一种特别被桶味覆盖的感觉，反而呢，因为它的果味，它的桶味融合的非常的美妙细致，所以在喝入口的时候，你会有一种两者相得益彰，并且呢，可以感受到这种果味和桶味的平衡感，极致的平衡。同时它也有非常大的陈年潜力。那么再者呢，是这款巴贝拉和一般我们所接触到的巴贝拉不同，因为呢，它第一是它有很强劲的酒体，以及呢，它比起一般的巴贝拉来说，它有更多的肉质感啊，然后你喝进去甚至有一些嚼劲，一些单宁的嚼劲感。那么另外一个呢，就是在于它和桶的这种结合，可以让它有更长时间的陈年潜力。这款酒也是一款特别适合配餐的酒。那么大家甚至可以试一试这款酒和一些蘑菇啊等食物的搭配，也是非常的完美平衡。因为它不仅有我们所熟知的一些像紫色水果的这些，还有香料感和香草感，同时呢还有桶味带来的这种柔滑的感觉。那么同时它也可以带给你更多的一些鲜美的感觉。那么也如果大家对于这一款酒感兴趣的话呢，可以点击屏幕下方的企业微信来添加啊。这个玉洁豪说声音很轻，我们调整一下，我们可以看一下那个声音是不是可以再调高一点点啊？谢谢反馈。好的。
Very good. So that was the Barbera, and now we're going to talk about 3 different Barolos that are historically important for your house. The first one is the Barolo Le Vigne. It's actually an older vintage. It's the 2012, because this is a Barolo that is part of your Cibis et Pauci line of wines. So yes. Tell us a little bit about Le Vigne, and also tell us a little bit about this special line of wines.
I will, absolutely. So the very first one my dad started making was the Barolo Cannubi Boschis. Anyway, this one. And then in the 1990, after a few years of thinking, he said, no, I mean, he said to himself anyway, I need to make a very traditional Barolo reflecting the tradition from the region. So blending several plots together in order to let the territory talking. And in fact, Le Vigne, the name, means the vineyards. So it's a fantasy name, it's not an MGA, it's not a name of a plot of a region, sub-region, what else, but it's just a family name, a fantasy name. Le Vigne means a lot to us because, as I said, anyway, it's the expression of the tradition in making wine from the region. At the first beginning, of course, was just a sole vineyard in Barolo called Le Coste, and then step by step, my dad was able to move to Monforte d'Alba, and then to Novello, and finally, I have to say that this wine has really shaped up, because right now is the beautiful expression of 5 different vineyards. So I'm talking about Paudana in Serra Lunga d'Alba. I'm talking about Villero in Castiglione Falletto. I'm talking about Vignane in Barolo. I'm talking about Merli in Novello. And with the vintage 2019, Barolo Le Vigne is going to receive also the contribution of Le Coste in Monforte d'Alba. So that's the story of Le Vigne. But talking about Cibis et Paucis and talking about Le Vigne 2012, so 10 years old, I have to say that with this new facility, and you saw the picture of the winery, we wanted to embrace a very important project for our wines, mostly for Barolo wines, because my dad learned so much from Giacomo Borgogno, who actually was saying to my dad, Luciano, don't be in a rush. Always pour the break with Nebbiolo, Barolo. You always need to give time to the wines. So enjoying a Barolo after 3, 4 years, 5 years anyway, could be enjoyable. But let me say that unfortunately, we are not getting the true expression that this incredible wine has to say or to express. So with this new facility, we wanted to dedicate 2 rooms to, yes, an area, dedicated area at the right temperature condition and humidity as well, in order to hold back right now 15, 17 of total production of our Barolo, and to resell those wines after 10 years. That's why right now we are releasing 2012, 2022, 2012. Next year, 2023, we are going to release Barolo 2013. Yeah. Most important is that we want that those bottles are going to be really recognized by you all. And because we feel that we want to guarantee the way of aging, the way of expressing. So on the label of the Le Vigne, in this case, you see a seal, gold one, with the name of the project written on CB at pouches. That's the sign, that's the logo of guarantee that this bottle has spent at least 10 years at the winery without moving. So from the very first moment we pick the grapes, we vinify the grapes, make the wine, and then the wine went down into the library stock and slept in total for 10 years before being released. I have also some slide talking about this project to help you to understand better. So CB at pouches, oh my God, yes, here we are. CB at pouches is a Latin sentence. So, we all are not anymore so familiar with Latin, but I got this beautiful sentence from a book when I used to go to school. This sentence was pronounced by Pliny the Younger, Plinio il Giovane, who actually was so much it was a writer, of course, a philosopher, but he was so much in love with wine and food. So he got an invitation to a banquet. He brought some of his wine, and in a very selfish way, he said, CB et pouches. CB is something done for myself, so it's mine, and pouches to enjoy with an unlimited number of friends. What we feel right now to say or to translate is that, we have this incredible obligation to do something special for the wines that we make. So this project has been made, well thought precisely for the Nebbiolo, and to enjoy with as much friends as we have all around the world, no limitation. The only limitation is the production, is the number of bottles. But our heart is open to you all anyway, to everybody, because that's the message that always Luciano wanted to drive, us and our friends to enjoy really a more mature wine in order to get the very best message that the wine has to express. And this is a picture of the bottles that, like babies, we tuck them in bed, we lay them down in order to age properly, at least for 10 years. And that's the project.
Okay,
Sorry.
so the Barolo Le Vigne is really an example of the way Barolo was always done. Barolo as a wine was always the result of a blend of different vineyards. Single vineyards Barolo wines were very rare before the 1960s. In fact, they were very rare before the 1980s. The first modern day single vineyard Barolo dates back to only 1961. Although the Canubi vineyard was so famous already in 1752, that name appears on a label for the word Barolo. Really, Barolo was always a wine made by blending grapes from different sites. And what Barbara was saying is that Luciano Sandrone wanted to make a more traditional Barolo, a Barolo that would speak of all the terroir of the Barolo denomination, and that is why Le Vigne, the vineyards Barolo, was made. And Barbara gave us the 5 vineyards that compose the Le Vigne Barolo, and these are some of the very best Barolo vineyards of all, because, for example, Villero in Castiglione Felletto, in the town of Castiglione Felletto, Villero is without any doubt one of the 10 best vineyards of all Barolo, what they call MGAs now, but in fact it's a vineyard district. And like Villero, the other ones they own are extremely high quality vineyards. The insiders know that the piece in La Costa di Monforte that Sandrone has is really one of the best parts of La Costa di Monforte. So again, you know, like I told you earlier with the Nebbiolo Valmaggiore, which comes from the Grand Cru of the Roero for Nebbiolo, it's very much the same with Le Vigne. The vineyard sources that give you the Nebbiolo grapes to make the Le Vigne Barolo are really some of the best in the whole denomination. Plus, with the CB Epaucis line, you have these wines that are perfectly aged in the cellar. And, you know, that's always a problem with wine in general. First of all, you can never find older vintages. In a restaurant, it's impossible, unless you want to spend a fortune, if they have the old vintages. And even if they have old vintages, sometimes the storage was never that good because those bottles have traveled all over the world, from New York to Hong Kong to Los Angeles to Tokyo. And so you never know how well the wines have been kept. So with the CB Epaucis line of Sandrone wines, you have a guarantee that the wines are aged properly in a temperature controlled facility, and they are released 10 years after the vintage in very good shape. So it's a remarkably great way to drink older Barolo vintages that have been well kept. And Le Vigne is just a beautiful wine. The 2012 is now mellow. 2012 was a relatively hot year, but it's a very good year, better than 2011, which was also very hot, but they were two different years in how the heat came about. In 2011, the year was originally cool and then all of a sudden became very hot. In 2012, it was hot from the start and the vines were able to adapt. So the 2012 Barolos are actually remarkably good wines. And the CB Epaucis Le Vigne is really a great bottle of Barolo. Echo?
Yeah. And I think this is the bottle that we are holding now, which you can see the golden kind of like a label
right
of
here.
CB Epaucis. Yeah. Which is really like the philosopher's choice. Yeah. 那么我们今天给大家带来的这一款CB Epaucis or Epaucis in Latin， 这个是拉丁语当中的普利尼当时的一句名言。那么这句话的意思呢，它其实是some special of the wines and to be enjoyed by many different people。 那么这句拉丁语其实它有很深的哲学含义，就是其实它是蕴含着这支酒当中的非常非常特殊的一些精华所在。那么它是为了让更多的人去享用这款酒，所以呢有了这一句拉丁语的名字。那么如果你看到这个酒标上面它印有 CB Pouches 这个金标的话呢，它意味着这款酒已经在酒庄里面，也就是说它没有出过酒庄，窖藏了长达10年之后才刚刚上市。那么第一是可以想到的是，其实很少有酒可以在酒庄内去陈酿这么多年，因为它完全没有任何外界的打扰，它也没有经过长途运输，所以它的储存条件是非常非常好的。那么第二个呢，是这一款酒当中其实是 Luciano Sandrone 致敬 Barolo 最传统的一种酿造方法。那么是什么呢？就是最传统的 Barolo 其实是在不同的特级园当中挑选最好的果实，然后最终运到酒庄之后去进行一个混酿的过程。所以今天我们看到很多的 Barolo 它使用的是单一园的概念啊去酿造，但是实际上呢Luciano Sandrone 他其实为了致敬这一种最传统的酿造方式，他是采用了这一种混酿的方式的。那么第二个呢是他选用的所有的特级园我们要提一提的第一个呢是 Villero， 它是在 Castiglione Falletto 这一个村，它也是这个村当中的顶级园。第二个非常被低估的园呢，它是位于Costi Monteforte 这一块单一园特级园，这个也是只有内部人士才会知道的这样一块顶级的园。那么另外要提一嘴的就是2012这个年份，这个年份呢其实是相对来说稍微比较偏热的一个年份，但是实际上这个年份它要比相同等的2011年它更加的好，表现更加的出色。所以这个也是我们今天仅仅只有6支的这一款成年了足足10年之后才发售的这一款 Sandrone 的非常花香曼妙，然后呢仍然明亮，非常充满活力的这样一款酒。
So that was the Livigne Barolo, and then we're going to talk about the Canopy Boschi Celeste last for Noblesse Oblige. But the next one we talk about is really a unique wine, the latest in your lineup, the newest member of the Sandrone family, and it's the Barolo Vite Tallinn. So tell us a little bit about this fantastic wine.
Okay, here we are. No problem, as I love it. Okay, here we are. Sorry, what am I doing? Can you see me?
Yes, definitely.
You can see.
Okay, great. No, I can open this. Yes, here we are. Okay, so talking about Barolo Vite Tallinn, I show you the label. All right. Which is this one, which is a little bit different compared to the rest of the lineup. As you know, we have several colors, anyway, a rectangular with several colors, but Vite Tallinn is not different. Also because this wine is so, let me say, singular, apart, special. Anyway, so it's a long story, 30 years to be told, and I really try to summarize that. So, as I told you before, my dad started making wine in 1978, the single vineyard Barolo Canopy Boschi. Then, in his mind, there always been a traditional one, Barolo Le Vigne. But if you remember, I said that he started making Le Vigne in Le Coste, which is the vineyard in the village of Barolo, single one. And that's the place where he founded a particular vine. I mean, a vine, let me say, misbehaving or behaving in a completely different way compared to the rest of Nebbiolo. Different leaf shapes, different bunches or grapes anyway, smaller, smaller berries. So he bought this vineyard from a local grape grower called Natale, Ronzana, Natale was his name, and translated in Piemontese, Tallinn. So my dad asked so many questions to this guy about what was going on with this particular vine. He didn't know what to say. He thought that maybe there was some water, humidity into the soil, making this vine struggling a little bit. My dad never believed what Tallinn was trying to explain. By a chance, Luca, my uncle, who actually is the enologist, he was studying at the enological school in Alba, and was almost at the end. And they were focusing so much of the attention, I'm talking about teachers and professors, on genetic, at the point that they were inviting ampelographers, professors from the university in Turin, in order really to talk to the students. So Luca took the chance to ask kindly to an ampelographer, a woman, Anna Schneider, to come to the winery, to come to the vineyard, and to tell us more about this vine. She came, she saw the vine, and she said, well, what do you think? My dad said, well, I think it's a Nebbiolo, but I need your knowledge, I need your confirmation. She said, Luciano, I think we think alike, but unfortunately, I cannot tell you precisely the genetic of this vine, because the DNA for Nebbiolo is not ready yet. I mean, we don't have it in the lab. And that was 1988, 89. But she said, or she recommended my dad to move this vine away from that plot, because she thought there were some other vines interfering with this vine, so making this vine suffering, struggling, and in order to start making more grapes and making also some wine. So my dad did. He moved this little vine, of course, grafting these vines, so making a clone, massal clone, in 3 other plots, Trucca, for example, and Rivassi in Barolo. And after, let me say, 6 years, he started making some wine. So he realized that the wine was very particular, very concentrated, dense, rich. And at this point, he also thought that this wine was so much in need of a really customized, bespoke vinification. At the point that he wanted to introduce the big casks, like in the old days here in Barolo, of 50 hectoliters. And he said probably this wine needs to stay a little bit longer in oak. So 1 year in big casks of 50 hectoliters, 1 year in ovals of 25 hectoliters, and then a year in tonneau of 500 liters, plus 3 years in bottle. So this wine is normally released after 6 years. And then the meaning of this label is so related to the family again, because who well thought about this label was my godfather, my dad's other brother, who actually in the 1965, he designed this label for his dad, because my granddad, carpenter, but also making some wine for the family in a very private way. So my other uncle, anyway, my godfather, wanted to design this label for his dad. And because this wine is so particular, so different, we wanted to, remove some dust from this label and to adapt this label for this wine. So the wine is called Barolo, of course. Vite Tallinn. Vite in Italian means vine, because the vine is very particular, very singular, very unique. And Tallinn in order to pay tribute to the owner of the vineyard.
In reality, though, I guess, Barbara, now that you have done the DNA tests and you know it really is Nebbiolo after all, in reality, you could probably call this, the wine can be called Vite Tallinn, fine, but in fact, this could be called Nebbiolo Tallinn, right? Just like Nebbiolo Lampia or Nebbiolo Rosé or Nebbiolo Bolla, San Luigi.
Yes, exactly. So, I don't want to put too many information to translate for her because I feel so embarrassed, but you said absolutely the right thing. So what right now the genetic has told us is that this is a new clone of Nebbiolo, but behaving in a different way because it's affected by 3 viruses, mostly affecting the leaves, the shape of the leaves, but also the shape of the grape and the shape of the berries. Yeah. So far, in order to call this clone Vite Tallinn, which is something that we are working hard to do that, we need to wait some time in order to make this wine virus-free. What does it mean? Is that right now, believe it or not, but my daughter Alessia, who actually went to the University of Enology in Trento, San Michele, all'Adige, and working with some professors, ampelographers here at the University in Turin, they try to grow some Vite Tallinn virus-free. They had to pasteurize those vines, but pasteurizing vegetable type vines anyway, it's very difficult because most of the time vines are simply dying. But right now in our field, we have 23 vines virus-free. And only with time, we hope that they are not going to develop the virus anymore in order to trademark this new clone, Vite Tallinn.
Yeah. So the important thing people realize is Nebbiolo is a grape variety that mutates very easily. And we talk about Nebbiolo, but in fact, there's 40 different biotypes in Piedmont alone of Nebbiolo. The main one is Nebbiolo Lampia, but there's many, many. The most famous virus-affected Nebbiolo is called Miquette. And Tallinn is one of these Nebbiolos, and it's one that has been discovered by Luciano Sandrone and his family. So down the road, once the virus has been eliminated, hopefully it doesn't come back, then Nebbiolo Tallinn will be more available, and more wines maybe will be made with it as well. So it's a very interesting story. It's a grape that looks different. It gives you a different wine, a more concentrated wine, and it's just fantastic. You know that this is not surprising at all, because you have to remember that all the grape varieties will give you different biotypes, adapting through the years and the decades and even the centuries to the terroir they live in. They have to adapt because grape varieties are living things, so they have to survive. Just like you and I, right now we're in Shanghai in the winter and we're all wearing clothes and sweaters because we're adapting to how cold it is. In the summer, where it's very hot and humid, we adapt by taking our clothes off and wearing t-shirts. So plants do the same thing. They adapt to the terroir they're in. And that's why we have different looking plants in different areas, even though it's originally the same plant, they adapt somewhat and they look differently. To give you an example, Aubert de Villaine, who runs Domaine de la Romanée Conti in Burgundy, with his colleagues, has identified, if you can believe it, over 500 Wu Ling Ling different Pinot Noir vines and over 300 Chardonnay vines. So that tells you how many different ones there are. And it's no different for Nebbiolo. There are, and Tallinn happens to be a very high quality Nebbiolo. Prego?
Yeah. And I think virus-free is a very important word at this time of the year.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly.
That's very true.
Incredible. The perfect timing.
In a world dominated by COVID, yeah. Virus-free is good. Yeah, virus-free is good.
For sure. And actually, may I ask, like, how many hectares Vita Tallinn do you have, or how many vines? Still,
yeah, Vita Tallinn is almost an hectare, no bigger than an hectare, and honestly, there's really absolutely no intention to grow or increase the production because all the vines were planted and grafted at the same time. So if we are going to increase the production, means that we're going to plant new vines. And the idea of making this wine with some old vines and young vines doesn't please us very much. So Tallinn is going to remain that production in a way, which approximately 2,000 bottles. That's why also the packaging is a little bit different compared to the rest of our lineup. Comes in a gift box.
Yeah.
Just this one anyway.
I would.
And inside anyway, there's of course a booklet explaining the story that I just briefly summarized. And this is the peculiarity of the bunch anyway, which is really small berries and white loss.
Great.
Yeah.
OK.
Okay.
那么在1987年的时候呢，我们来看一下这一款非常特别的叫做 Vita Tallinn 的 Barolo。今天我们给大家争取到的是16年的配额，这也是非常非常稀有的配额。那么故事呢，可以溯源到1987年 ，Luciano Sandrone 呢，他在自家的葡萄园里面发现了一个非常奇怪的现象，就是他发现了一种好像有点是 Nebbiolo， 但是好像又不全部是 Nebbiolo 的这样一个克隆品种。这种克隆品种呢，它的叶片的形状和其他的正常的 Nebbiolo 叶片形状不太一样。那么它的果串呢更加松散，并且呢用它来酿出来的葡萄酒啊，感觉上又跟其他的风格不太一样。稍微感觉上呢，它是有更多的这个果实啊，集中度更高，而且呢，它的整体上其实是结构更加的紧致的。那么当时呢，就给了专家做了一个鉴定，并且呢，在鉴定之后发现，哎，确实这个并不是完完全全的 Nebbiolo 品种，它是一个新的克隆品种。那么这个新的克隆品种呢，当时就把它取名为叫 Tallinn T-A-L-I-N 这个品种。那么在这个品种当中，因为我们知道其实它跟我们现在的这个全球大环境，我们都在聊着这个病毒有一点息息相关。因为呢，这个是葡萄园当中的病毒而引起的一个变异品种。那么它在变异之后呢，这个品种它其实是会有一些反应的。那么一个反应就是它的叶片会和其他正常的叶片不太相同。那么另外一个呢，当然就是我们刚刚说的，它其实结出来的这个果实酿出来的葡萄酒的风格也会有一些差异。那么这个就有点像我们现在就是 得了新冠之后，每个人的这个症状也不太一样，然后呢，其实确实是会对人会造成一些影响。那么说回这个Vitaline 这一个品种啊，因为我们现在大家要知道在整个皮埃蒙特产区呢，一共有40个不同的克隆品种 biotype。那这个40个当中呢，其中最多的就是我们今天喝到的大多数内比奥罗都是 Nebbiolo Lampia， 那么另外还有 Miket 这种克隆品种，那么当然还有其他的30多种都存在在皮埃蒙特。那么我们今天看到的这个 Vitaline 呢，在Sandrone 呢，现在目前只有不到1公顷了。那么这个不到1公顷的植株当中，因为我们也不可能再种植更多的葡萄藤去保持它的产量，所以整个酒庄目前到现在呢，产量都是控制在差不多只有2000瓶左右。那么这个目前酒庄呢，包括芭芭拉的女儿 Alicia， 她正在研究的一种叫做就是把这个葡萄园内的病毒去消除。那么它怎么去消除呢？它其实是用那个巴氏消菌法去杀除这个病菌。那么现在酒庄一共有23株植株，它是已经用了巴氏消菌法去让它是得以是变成 virus free 的这个植株那么在之后呢，它再去做这个扦插种植的时候，它就不会再有这个病毒了。那么我们再说回这个这一款我们今天给大家带来的这个非常稀有的特有的特殊克隆这个也是酒庄的隐藏杰作。我们今天我看一下给大家带来的是仅仅6支配额，所以呢大家可以在那个屏幕下方对，屏幕下方点击这个赏元之味的bubble， 然后呢索要我们的酒单，然后对这个我和伊恩都是刚刚康复，所以可能声音会有一些这个大家听出来了。对，是 Talent 的这个内比奥罗。然后呢，这个 virus 的这个品种其实我也可以问一下 Barbara。 There's an audience asking about the name of the virus. So could you reveal, or it's not that?
Do you know what the virus is that affects Tallinn, or is there more?
No, I don't recall them, but I'm taking note. I have no problem as soon my daughter Alicia is recovering, because she's also bad with flu anyway. And absolutely, and mostly the ampelographer. Anna Snyder, I'm sorry. She can absolutely be very, very, very precise.
Sure. There's any number of viruses that can affect Nebbiolo. For example, Nebbiolo Miket is usually affected either by the fan leaf virus or the fleck leaf virus. But in fact, there's many different fan leaf viruses. So there's at least 2 fan leaf viruses that usually affect the Miket, and usually 1 fleck virus that will affect it. So there's a bunch of different viruses. The way they test for that is through ELISA tests, but it doesn't really matter.
Exactly.
But it doesn't really matter in the end.
I have all those data, absolutely.
Yeah, no, but it doesn't really matter in the end. The main thing is that the virus, the main thing is that the grape variety is a very good one. It grows a little less strongly, so the berries are small, but that means that the wine ends up being very concentrated and deep, and it's really a remarkable Barolo. In fact, this one that we're talking about tonight is the 2016, actually. Yeah. We have the bottle of the 214 here, but in fact, the one that has just become available in China through Summergate is the 2016. And that's important because 2016 is really one of the 5 best Barolo vintages of all time. For many people, it may even be the best vintage of all time, certainly along with vintages like 61 and 71 and 78, really 89, really one of the greatest vintages of all time. So this is the Barolo Vita Tallinn, which is already a very unique wine, only 2,000 bottles for the world, from a very rare Nebbiolo grape variety. And on top of it all, this particular bottle is from the 2016 vintage, which is really, really for many people, maybe the best Barolo vintage of all time, and if not, certainly one of the top 5. So it's a remarkable bottle of wine, and we're very lucky that we can get this in China.
Yeah.
No, thanks you.
Bene. And then last but not least, we have really the flagship wine of the estate, the wine that really made the name, the history of the Sandrone winery, which is the Barolo Cannubi Boschi, which is a very famous vineyard. Today, the wine is called Aleste, but it is exactly the same thing. Barolo Cannubi Boschi, Aleste, it's the same one. It was just a name change. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, well, as you said anyway, and I kept repeating anyway, you know, it was a very first time. Oh my God, I wanted to show you some pictures of my kids. Here we are, come on. So the very first Barolo my dad made in 1978. Here we are. You know, then I got 2 kids, Alessia and Stefano, as you can see in the picture. And my dad, let me say anyway, got nuts for them. And more than, yeah, when was it? 10 years ago. Anyway, he wanted to have us around the table, especially Luca and I, my uncle, and say, you know, I have something in my mind, but mostly in my heart. I want to do something special for my grandkids, and we couldn't imagine what more, you know, what else, because of the new winery, the project to see the pouches and so on. And he said, well, I want their name on the top of the label of the most important wine for me. Everything started precisely in that plot, Cannubi Boschi, and I want him a sort of continuity in what I just started. So in the end, Cannubi Boschi we have a picture anyway, and Aleste are absolutely the same wine anyway. Nebbiolo grapes are coming from the same vineyard, Cannubi Boschi, vinified absolutely in the same way. Nothing has changed. Merely absolutely the same, but just that, you know, the name of the 2 kids is appearing on the label instead of the name of the vineyard.
And the first vintage named Aleste is
2013. 2013. Yes, exactly. Hold on a second, because I want you to see me, because I as I said anyway, Alessia is in bed with flu. Unfortunately, is not here with me, but I have Stefano. Oh my God, yes. Ba-boom.
Hey, ciao Stefano. Ciao. Nice to see you. Bello vederti.
Anche per me.
Yes, exactly.
Complimenti. Mamma è molto orgogliosa.
Yes. As I needed the new generation anyway to move on. And so absolutely best regards also from Malaysia. She's probably going to appear into the next episode anyway. But as I said, anyway, merely nothing has changed. Nothing is going to change, absolutely. And that's why we wanted to maintain the same style of the label. But on the label is going to appear the name of the 2 kids. And that's because of Luciano's special will. Anyway,
love for it. We actually have a bottle of the Cannubi Boschi as it was originally. This is the 2001, which actually I named my wine of the year back in 2004. It was a truly great Barolo. And Cannubi Boschi, it's very important that people realize that the Canopy Hill, which is not just Barolo's, but Italy's most famous vineyard, really was historically subdivided in 5 different pieces. And the northernmost one is called Canopy Boschis. And it really is Luciano Sandrone and his winery that made Canopy Boschis famous. Today, you can call the whole hill Canopy. You don't have to specify, unless you want to, you don't have to specify if the grapes come from the Canopy Boschis section, or if they come from the Canopy Valletta section, or the Canopy San Lorenzo section, or the Canopy Muscatel section, or the central part of Canopy. They're all great. This is one of the greatest vineyards in the world. It's like saying, honestly, it's like saying Montrachet. It's honestly like saying Richebourg. It's really one of the greatest vineyards in the world. And I mean, really, Chevalier Montrachet, Bâtard Montrachet, they're all great. They're just different wines. And it's the same thing. Charme Chambertin, Mazie Chambertin, Griot Chambertin, they're all great. And they're all slightly different, but they're all basically Chambertins. So Canopy Boschis is a unique part of the Canopy Hill. It's, as Barbara was saying, exactly where the winery is located, because it's located off the side. And it's really Luciano Sandrone that made the Canopy Boschis site so famous, because really before he showed up, it wasn't as well known. And he showed that Canopy Boschis can give you some of Italy's greatest wines. And there have been many Canopy Boschis wines that have just been fantastic. The 1990, very famous. The 1985, which was the first one with a new label, with the iconic rectangle blue label in 1985. The 1990, the 2001 for sure, but many others really have gone down among some of the greatest wines Italy's ever made.
Thank you. So sweet. Thank you.
Thank you. And 我们今天的最后一支酒款也是我们最压轴的这一款啊，因为它不仅仅是神之水滴的第6使徒，那么同时呢 Canopy Boschis 其实也是 Barolo 最著名最古老的一块田，可以说没有之一。那么只要是 Barolo 的爱好者，这几乎是一块神圣的神级之地。那么同时我们要知道的是，其实这块地啊，在跟 Luciano Sandrone 的他的先锋开拓离不开关系，因为正是有他在啊，所以这块地呢慢慢的得到了所有人的认可，并且呢同时到今天这块地才被誉为这样一个神级的存在。最早的时候呢，其实很少有人知道，在这一块风土居然有这么神奇的魅力和魔力，它可以让这个酿出来的酒款可以达到这样的巅峰的水准。所以说Barolo 的核心地块，如果说你还没有尝过 Canopy Boschis 的话，那可能人生还没有完整。那么说一说酒标啊，这个酒标呢也是非常特别，因为在2013年的时候呢，这个酒标呢改成了 Aleste。那么 Aleste 的名字呢起源于他的女儿 Alicia 和 Stefano 的这个结合，那么正好是 ALE 加上 STE， 然后变成了 Aleste 这个现今酒标的这个结合体。如果大家看到那个这个 Sandrone 的一个非常特殊的酒标，就是它的酒标当中是一块蓝色的部分，然后这块蓝色的部分上面呢，它印有这一个他们的名字的结合。那么刚才那位出现在屏幕上的帅气的小伙子就是 Stefano， 然后我们今天也非常的感谢他能够亲临现场，让我们看到了酒标的真人版啊，不光是酒标本身，还有他 Stefano 的真人来到了现场。那么 在说起2013年以前，2013年以前呢，他们其实的名字就是这样子的一个，就叫做它的田的名字就是 Carnaby Bosques。那么后来呢，我们知道我们之前有给大家介绍的一款 Lavigne， 是它这个两种是比较不同的啊，因为 Lavigne 呢，我们刚才有提到，就是 Luciano Stefano 他为了纪念这个历史上面传统的酿造方式，所以采用的一个混酿的手法。那么这一款的 Aleste 呢，它其实就是一个单一园的形式，所以你在 Sandrone 不仅能够尝到致敬历史的最巅峰的酒款，就是这个混酿的酒款，同时也能够尝到致敬现代的，用这种致敬单一风土、单一园，然后呢这种探索单一风土到极致的这样一个最顶尖的这样一款酒款，也就是我们今天的 Carnaby Bosques 的这块田，它的表现是怎样的？所以可以说，你可以在这家酒庄当中，真的是可以对比品鉴，并且呢，可以尝到就是这个真正的 Barolo 的精髓所在。是的。So we were so honored to have Barbara and Stefano together, and because we were really, it's a very great honor to have you here, and we are really appreciate to having so many great wines to share with us. It's just like what you have mentioned for the CVE projects, that to share the great wines with so many great people here tonight with our Chinese audience.
And also, while we're at it, it's only fair to mention that the talent and the quality of the Sandrone wines is very well exemplified by your 2018s. 2018 is a slightly difficult vintage compared to 16, for example, but the wines are very beautiful to drink sooner. And your 2018s are fantastic. The 2018 Aleste is really one of the better Barolos of the whole vintage. So again, Sandrone has really done a remarkably successful job, and the 2018 Aleste is one of the best wines of that vintage. It really is. Yeah.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Grazie Stefano, grazie Barbara, grazie Matteo. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Because we have to thank you all anyway, and Matteo, absolutely, because we try to do our best here to make special wines, but and then you, Ian, and your team anyway to communicate what we do. But you know, between there's an important ring, which is our sales team anyway, and Matteo, I have to say that has done and is doing a great job anyway to move our voice and you know, to promote the wines absolutely in the way that we always wanted, you know. So thanks a lot for all you do for us. Thanks from Luciano, anyway, Luca, which are not here, anyway, Alessa and all the family. Thank you. And I don't see the audience, but anyway, you know, the door is open. Please come to see us as soon as you can, because we can't wait to have you all here at the winery. Grazie.
I'll be there in February. I look forward to seeing you again, Barbara. Veramente, adesso arrivo, ho già fatto il biglietto, quindi adesso arrivo. Grazie davvero, thank you.
Matteo, wanted to say something?
Matteo? Oh, yeah, just one question. Just to, you know, I waited till the end. It's a question about marketing and mainly, but it's something that's actually slightly important. I think actually important for Chinese market. You have been featured in the Japanese manga, the Drops of God, in 2004, I guess. So question is, do you think that feature changed your exposure in the Asian market, and especially in China, because actually it's quite famous in China? And if yes, how so?
Oh, well, I didn't know about manga before seeing the comics anyway. You know, this couple came, I'm talking about the producer, I'm talking about customers, prior customers. They came with the manga in their hands. And from that moment, I have to say that, yeah, I mean, we were able to attract the attention also of this side of customers, you know, because manga became quite famous, and also to get wine stories in this represented in this very unique way, I think helped a lot the wine knowledge also, you know, through the young generation. So yes, I have to say that is couple of designers, I don't know how to call them. They are Japanese, you know, there are siblings, brother. Yeah, they came to the winery without knowing anyway. We thought they were simply consumers, and then that moment anyway, I have to say that the knowledge of the winery, some wines, wine in general became absolutely more important anyway, more exposed. So yes.
Yeah, it's very important here in China too. It's something that a lot of people follow, and actually it has helped, I think, Matteo, has helped the visibility of the winery quite a bit. A lot of the people that follow us know and are aware about the 12 Apostles and that manga comic very much.
Sì. So
okay. Grazie.
We're very grateful.
Thank you again.
Grazie.
And see you soon.
Davvero.
Grazie.
See you soon. Indeed. All the best. Enjoy your evening. Baci. Ciao Matteo. Ciao Eco. Ciao io. Grazie.
See you.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao, everybody.
Ciao.